Will Smith has reigned over Hollywood for decades, dazzling audiences with charm, wit, and that signature megawatt smile. Yet, behind the polished persona, behind the blockbuster films and immaculate family photos, lurks a web of rumors, tensions, and whispered secrets that rarely see the light of day. When he shocked the world at the Oscars by slapping Chris Rock on live television, the masks of perfection slipped away, letting us glimpse the messy reality underneath. This single explosive moment left fans and insiders alike asking, how could this happen? And more importantly, what deeper fault lines in Hollywood does it reveal? Some see a buildup of personal frustration. Others point to an industry that pits its most bankable stars against one another for profit and spectacle. Then there's Jim Carrey, an unpredictable force who calls Hollywood's bluff at every turn, and who might just be holding more cards than anyone realizes. Over the next few chapters, we'll explore the complicated saga of Will Smith's public image, how Chris Rock ended up in his crosshairs, and why Jim Carrey's fearless honesty could be stirring an even bigger pot behind the scenes. Along the way, we'll dive into Eddie Murphy's perspective on black actors and their forced rivalries, the bizarre hints about Will's personal life, and the swirling gossip that ties him to powerful industry figures like Quincy Jones and Diddy. This isn't just another Hollywood scandal. It's a testament to how fragile reputations can be, even for a superstar like Will, and how quickly our idols can crumble when a raw, unfiltered moment breaks through the facade. So, buckle in. Every new revelation might shake your faith in the pristine veneer of Tinseltown. For a moment, the 2022 Oscars seemed like any other glamorous night. Designer gowns, acceptance speeches, and celebrities beaming under the spotlight. Then came that joke from Chris Rock, followed by Will Smith rising from his seat, marching to the stage, and delivering a slap so jarring it echoed through social media within seconds. Jaws dropped across the globe. What made it even more disconcerting was that Will, beloved Fresh Prince, perennial box office champion, a man who built a career on universal appeal, had never shown signs of such a public outburst. On film sets, he was known as the consummate professional, greeting crew members, chatting amiably with fans, and rarely missing a chance to project positivity. So why snap on such a grand stage? Some argue that his reaction was a response to Chris Rock's jab at Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head, a joke referencing her alopecia, an ongoing medical condition. Defenders of Will said he was simply protecting his wife from public ridicule. Yet others pointed to the simmering pressure in Will's personal life. Rumored entanglements, open marriage confessions, and a swirl of controversy that had been intensifying for years. Underneath Will's genial surface, perhaps there was more going on than anyone realized. In the aftermath, onlookers argued whether the Academy should have escorted Will out or even banned him on the spot. Instead, the evening continued as if nothing major had happened until Will's acceptance speech for Best Actor. Applause thundered through the auditorium, prompting Jim Carrey to publicly call Hollywood spineless en masse. That jarring comment by Carrey would soon become a focal point for critics, fueling speculation that the Oscars meltdown was only a symptom of deeper cracks in the industry's glossy veneer. But the slap itself was more than a viral moment. It became a catalyst, opening the door to every rumor, every question, and every old feud that Will Smith and his family had attempted to keep under control. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, was this act of aggression the result of a single joke, or the final straw in a long chain of hidden stressors? The truth, as it turns out, is infinitely more complex, and it involves a circle of people far beyond Will, Jada, and Chris Rock. That Oscar stage became a stage for more than just a slap. It became ground zero for an unprecedented look into Will Smith's personal struggles. Overnight, stories surfaced about his marital challenges with Jada, his rumored connections to controversial Hollywood power players, and even the idea that he'd spent years battling internal demons just to keep his shiny reputation intact. Fans quickly recalled Jada Pinkett Smith's candid Red Table Talk sessions, where she openly discussed entanglements and living a lifestyle that was far from traditional. Those admissions had already placed Will under an unflattering microscope. Some questioned if he was complicit, if he had extramarital affairs of his own, or if their union was purely for public image. The public had mostly brushed off these confessions as the Smiths being refreshingly honest. But in the wake of the slap, curiosity took a darker turn. Were Will's flashes of frustration actually warnings that he was close to a breaking point? Did he feel cornered by constant internet chatter about his manhood, especially after Jada admitted to her own relationship outside their marriage. Jokes and memes had already spread online, labeling Will as a man betrayed and humiliated. Perhaps that Oscars moment was an impulsive attempt to reassert control, or so the theory goes. But there's another layer to this. Hollywood thrives on building up and tearing down its biggest stars. If Will Smith was no longer the squeaky clean hero, someone had to fill that vacuum. It's a narrative machine that the industry has fueled for decades. The star who stumbles, the star who ascends in their place, and the constant churn of scandal to keep viewers engaged. When Will's carefully curated image wavered, it ignited a feeding frenzy, with each new rumor topping the last. It's in moments like these that Jim Carrey, the king of unrestrained honesty, leaps into the conversation. Because if anyone isn't afraid to say what everyone else is thinking, it's Carrey. The question is, why did his words cut so deep this time? And what does he know that the rest of us don't? Jim Carrey has never been one to fit into Hollywood's neat little boxes. From comedic anarchy in Ace Ventura and The Mask to philosophical depth in The Truman Show, he's always operated on his own wavelength. But behind the goofball grin is a willingness, perhaps even an eagerness, to call out what he sees as hypocrisy in show business. When the Oscars fiasco erupted, Carrey denounced the standing ovation Will received, labeling the industry spineless en masse. He didn't mince words. If it had been him on stage, he claimed he would have responded with legal action, a $200 million lawsuit, because the footage would haunt him for life. But what rattled Hollywood was less the monetary figure and more the unspoken warning. Jim Carrey isn't scared of telling uncomfortable truths. It's an approach he's hinted at many times. Carrey once walked onto a late-night show flashing a bizarre hand gesture, then launched into a tirade about government shills in entertainment, half joking, half dead serious, making everyone wonder how far he was willing to go. Over the years, he's accused Hollywood of being a cool club, obsessed with maintaining illusions. For him, the entire system is a giant facade built on mutual back-scratching and silent agreements not to rock the boat. But he's more than a provocateur. Carrey's comedic genius gives him a massive platform, and his refusal to play the game grants him a unique power. While most stars tiptoe around taboo subjects for fear of backlash, Jim Carrey lobs explosive comments into the mainstream and then shrugs off the consequences. For Will Smith, whose brand relies heavily on being lovable and inoffensive, Carrey's unpredictability can be terrifying. One scathing interview, one random revelation, and years of image building might topple like dominoes. If Carrey decided to truly expose the underbelly of Tinseltown, many suspect Will's personal controversies would be among the first to spill out. After all, Carrey has been in the industry for decades, crossing paths with nearly everyone, storing up stories that most wouldn't dare repeat. Whether he ever pulls the trigger on a full-blown Hollywood expose remains to be seen. But his post-slap commentary was enough to remind everyone that, yes, Carrey is still watching, and he's not afraid to speak up. Few comedians or actors understand the complexities of Hollywood as deeply as Eddie Murphy. Rising from stand-up to become one of the 80s and 90s biggest box office draws, he's seen how the industry molds and manipulates talent, particularly black talent. In interviews and comedic bits, Murphy has openly criticized the one-spot mentality, the idea that only one black entertainer can be at the top at any given time. He's joked about it, recalling how people pitted him against Richard Pryor in the early days. Later, he watched it happen again, with fans and media insisting on rivalry between Will Smith, Denzel Washington, and other big names. Even Kevin Hart has complained about being labeled the new Eddie, or the new Chris Rock, as though the entertainment world can't handle multiple successful black comics at once. Murphy has encouraged unity, urging fellow black entertainers to ignore the noise and focus on their craft. But it isn't easy. Hollywood profits from spectacle, from narratives about who's winning and who's losing. If there isn't a genuine feud, the system might just invent one. Some believe that external pressure heightened Will Smith's insecurities, especially as he strove to maintain his place as a universally beloved superstar. That might partially explain why the Oscars incident was so jarring. When Will stormed the stage, he shattered the idea that he was a safe option among Hollywood's leading men. Suddenly, the perfect Fresh Prince was now the aggressor, adding fuel to an industry that loves conflict. And with Carrey fanning the flames and Murphy pointing out how unfairly black talent is pitted against itself, the entire narrative around Will Smith took a disheartening turn. Behind the scenes, many suspect that Will had grown tired of defending his marriage, tired of comedic digs at his expense, tired of a system that places immense pressure on him to remain untouchable. For Eddie Murphy, it wasn't surprising. He'd seen similar cracks before in friends and colleagues. The difference is that Will's meltdown happened on the biggest stage in the world, ensuring that no one could sweep it under the rug. Chris Rock is no stranger to poking fun at celebrity lives. His stand-up is legendary for slicing through egos and touching nerves, often leaving no star unscathed. So when Will Smith slapped him, many thought Chris would lash out, either physically or legally, but he didn't. He finished the show, declined to press charges, and largely stayed quiet for a while, even as social media begged for his side of the story. Why the reluctance to strike back? For one, Chris Rock is deeply connected in Hollywood. Filing a lawsuit against another A-list actor might have ignited a media circus that overshadowed his own career. Comedy is his domain, and turning the incident into a comedic talking point might be more beneficial than dragging it through the courts. Indeed, later on, in one of his specials, he finally aired his feelings, reminding everyone that laughter can be the sharpest form of revenge. Then there's history. Chris and the Smiths clashed in 2016 when he hosted the Oscars and made comments about Jada boycotting the ceremony. His words struck a nerve back then, signaling that the Rock-Smith dynamic wasn't as friendly as it appeared on the surface. For Chris, maybe stepping away from the legal route was about preserving his comedic brand, or possibly about not feeding the narrative that two black icons had to be locked in a public grudge match. Some also suggest Chris has higher-profile defenders who advised him to keep the peace, focusing on long-term career stability rather than short-term payback. The fact that the entire fiasco gave him fresh material for stand-up might have been the best outcome for a comedian who thrives on turning pain into punchlines. Regardless of his motives, Rock's measured response only highlighted the contrast between the man who calmly stood his ground and the man who lost control on live TV. As viewers dissected Chris's reaction, they found themselves asking, what exactly pushed Will over the edge? And the answer always seems to loop back to Jada, the intricacies of their marriage, and the possibility that all was not well behind those bright red carpets. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith have never been shy about unveiling the quirks of their relationship, at least when it suits them. From the outside, they look like Hollywood's ideal power couple, raising talented children, hosting philanthropic events, and championing each other's careers. Yet interviews, especially on Jada's Red Table Talk, painted a far more complicated portrait. At one point, Jada admitted to an entanglement with R&B singer August Alsina, which occurred while she and Will were on a break. She laid it out publicly, with Will sitting across the table, stoically listening. Though they claimed honesty would strengthen their bond, internet pundits erupted with theories that Will was just swallowing his pride to keep their union intact. Rumors flew even more wildly when Tisha Campbell hinted that her ex-husband, Dwayne Martin, had an unusually close relationship with Will. Although she never mentioned him by name in explicit detail, her all-caps social media post suggested a serious betrayal. The internet instantly latched on, pondering whether Will's open marriage extended to experiences that he'd never publicly admitted. Meanwhile, Jada has mentioned that she and Will often live in separate areas, focusing on individual happiness rather than typical marital codependence. Whether that's progressive or a silent admission of deeper fractures is up for debate. For every fan praising their honesty, there's another who suspects their freedom is a facade to cover up bigger secrets. The real question is how this unusual arrangement affects Will psychologically. Handling tabloids, rumors about his wife, and constant jokes from comedians would wear down anyone's defenses. Could the Oscars meltdown be a glimpse of pent-up frustration from years of playing the perfect husband while the public dissected his marriage? Of course, these hints of tension are just the tip of an iceberg that might stretch back decades, especially when you consider the swirling gossip about powerful Hollywood figures like Quincy Jones and Diddy. It's an ecosystem where alliances form behind closed doors, and undisclosed truths can remain hidden for years, only surfacing when something dramatic, like an Oscar slap, throws them into the spotlight. Tisha Campbell, best known for her role on the hit show Martin, sparked a firestorm when she started posting cryptic messages on social media, implying that Dwayne Martin and Will Smith had something going on beyond mere friendship. She used phrases like, "the truth always comes out," and capitalized certain words in ways that left fans guessing she meant Will. From there, the internet took over, weaving a narrative about a secret relationship between Will and Dwayne. Although no concrete evidence was provided, Tish's close proximity to the situation made her words carry weight. Hollywood watchers had heard similar rumors float around for years, sometimes pointing to extramarital affairs, sometimes pointing to closeted lifestyles. Naturally, Will never publicly addressed these specific allegations. But the timing was interesting. Tisha made these posts right around the period when the Smiths' marriage faced extreme public scrutiny. Skeptics wondered if Tisha was seizing the moment to settle a score, or if she felt compelled to speak up because she was tired of the charade. Regardless of motive, the allegations added yet another strand to the tapestry of Will's rumored private life. People started re-examining past red carpet interactions, old interviews, and behind-the-scenes stories, searching for clues. Were there real signs of closeness between Will and Dwayne that transcended friendship? Did Jada know or approve, given the couple's open dynamic? The truth remains murky, overshadowed by half hints and the refusal of anyone involved to clarify the situation. Yet, as with any scandal that hits Hollywood, the rumor mill churns at full speed until someone publicly debunks the story. For Will, even if the rumors are baseless, the repeated whispers can undermine his image, especially now that the world has witnessed he's far more vulnerable than his films let on. This angle also amplifies the notion that Jim Carrey, with his no-holds-barred style, might be all too aware of these swirling controversies. If he ever decided to address them head-on, the fallout could be brutal for everyone involved. Quincy Jones, one of the most iconic producers and arrangers in music history, has been open about many parts of his life and cryptic about others. He's hinted at relationships with men and women alike, and he's spoken about how he helped shape the careers of major stars. Some fans speculate that Quincy had a special interest in Will Smith, possibly guiding him early on in ways that transcended a typical mentor-mentee relationship. These rumors trace back to Will's transition from music to television and eventually to movies. Quincy was a power broker with a Midas touch, credited with launching the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air by helping Will land his sitcom. Over time, people started linking the dots, suggesting that Quincy might have introduced Will to a more secretive side of Hollywood, a side where personal relationships and career opportunities intermingled behind closed doors. Of course, no one has produced concrete proof of any intimate connection between the two. But in an industry fueled by speculation, the association alone keeps people talking. Every time Will's private life hits the news, folks circle back to Quincy, dredging up old interviews where Quincy teased about knowing everything about everyone in Hollywood. So where does Jim Carrey fit into all this? Carrey has often taken potshots at the industry's upper echelons, implying that many hush-hush relationships and unsaid favors exist among the elites. If Carrey has rubbed shoulders with Quincy or gleaned behind-the-scenes tidbits, he might be sitting on stories that would blow the public's mind. That possibility alone sends shivers through Hollywood's top tier. For Will Smith, the fear might be that if certain rumors are even partially true, Carrey's spotlight could crack them wide open. Until now, Will has managed these whispers with polite denials or by simply ignoring them. But in the wake of public scrutiny post-slap, ignoring them might no longer be enough. Another name that pops up whenever secret lifestyles in Hollywood are discussed is Sean Diddy Combs. The music mogul has faced rumors for years about exclusive, off-the-grid parties where what happens behind closed doors stays that way, until the whispers start. Some individuals claim these parties have involved multiple celebrities, including Will Smith, in contexts that go far beyond casual socializing. Again, there's no conclusive proof, just an undercurrent of speculation. What's notable is that Diddy himself seems to hover in a space of perpetual gossip. Rumors about his relationships, his influence, and his alleged hush money deals swirl endlessly. When people see Will Smith's name entangled in these same rumor streams, they can't help wondering if there's a shared factor linking them. Could it be the constant pursuit of power and legacy in Hollywood, where aligning with the right person can boost your career, but crossing the wrong one can bury it? Or is it the allure of absolute freedom away from the public eye, an escape from the expectations that stars like Will must always be on? Jim Carrey's role in this? He's the wild card who might say at any moment, "Yeah, I've been to those gatherings, and let me tell you how they really are." While many stars fear talking about these gatherings for fear of alienating powerful figures, Carrey seems to relish stirring the pot. One unrehearsed interview, one spontaneous rant, and a decade's worth of rumors could become mainstream headlines. Will Smith, who has carefully balanced a public persona of family values and positivity, would be left scrambling to control the narrative if Carrey opened Pandora's box. And that possibility looms large, especially when you consider Carrey's long history of calling out Tinseltown's illusions. For years, Will Smith was the king of July 4th weekend movie releases, the rap star who didn't swear in his lyrics, and the actor who seamlessly navigated action, drama, and comedy. He seemed unstoppable, always ready with a bright smile for the cameras, a motivational quote for interviews, and a comedic anecdote for talk show hosts. His family, too, was presented as a model for modern success: talented kids, philanthropic ventures, and unconditional support. Yet cracks appeared over time. Jaden's eccentricities, from cryptic tweets to wearing gender-fluid clothing, sparked debates. Willow candidly spoke of mental health struggles. Jada embarked on public discussions about intimacy and marriage that left audiences clutching their pearls. Through it all, Will maintained his grin, reinforcing that life was still wonderful. But behind the scenes, many suspected that Will was managing an avalanche of stress. The unrelenting scrutiny, combined with the gossip about his personal inclinations and extramarital possibilities, might have weighed heavily on him. The Chris Rock slap, then, can be viewed as the moment the dam burst, a spontaneous outpouring of pent-up frustration at being the butt of jokes, the subject of rumors, and the caretaker of a crumbling public facade. If Jim Carrey chooses to blow the whistle on Hollywood's hush-hush deals and alliances, Will Smith's name would likely appear on that ledger of secrets. The tragedy, perhaps, is that Will's meltdown overshadowed what might have been a genuine call for empathy or help. Instead, it became a glaring spectacle that gave his detractors and rumor-mongers fresh fuel. Still, there are fans who stand by Will, arguing that one slip in decades of success shouldn't define him. Yet, in an industry that thrives on stories, a single slip can be the impetus for 100 new ones. The question is whether Will can reassemble the pieces of his shattered image before someone like Carrey, or any other insider, decides to put them on public display in a way he can't control. Whether you view Will Smith as a flawed hero who lost his cool, or as a carefully orchestrated brand unraveling at the seams, one thing is undeniable. The Oscars slap exposed fault lines that run deeper than anyone initially realized. It opened the floodgates to rumors about his marriage, his alleged extramarital affairs, and his ties to powerful figures like Quincy Jones and Diddy. It also underscored Hollywood's enduring appetite for drama, especially when a once untouchable A-lister shows vulnerability. Jim Carrey's scathing take on the incident served as a stark reminder that, in Tinseltown, the real stories might be more dramatic than the ones on the silver screen. Carrey is that rare voice unafraid to call the entire system a sham. And because he doesn't cling to a squeaky clean image, he can say things no one else dares to say. That is precisely why someone like Will Smith, who has so much at stake, might feel uneasy. A single unfiltered interview from Carrey could accelerate the unraveling of Will's carefully guarded personal life. Eddie Murphy's insights about how Black entertainers are often forced into competition highlights another angle. The media's thirst for rivalry and scandal can be especially punishing for Black actors. Will Smith, Chris Rock, and Eddie Murphy himself are all players in a system that profits from pitting them against each other. Meanwhile, their personal relationships, mental health, and reputations hang in the balance. Of course, there's also Chris Rock, who chose not to take legal action or retaliate physically. His measured response turned the spotlight back onto Will, and onto a Hollywood that's both eager to forgive and quick to condemn, depending on which storyline is more profitable at the moment. Where do things go from here? Will we see a redemption arc for Will Smith, or is the weight of rumors and controversies too heavy to overcome in the public eye? Will Jim Carrey ever open the floodgates and share whatever he's hinted at knowing? And will the Smith family find a way to maintain authenticity amid a sea of speculation? For now, the only certainty is that Hollywood's greatest product has always been the blurred line between genuine truth and mesmerizing illusion. Will Smith's journey from megastar to troubled icon reminds us that even the brightest spotlight can cast long, dark shadows. As we keep watching and waiting for the next twist, one lesson stands out. In a realm built on appearances, reality can be the most shocking script of all.